Okay, so in 3.1, we're looking at measures of central tendency, and that's mode, median, and mean. First off, we have mode. The mode of a data set is the value that occurs most frequently. If there's no single value that occurs most frequently than any other, then there is no mode. So if you have 3 numbers and they all happen 4 times, there's no mode for that group. Whereas in example 1, for our mode, we should notice that 4 happens there 5 times. So that means our mode is going to be 4. Now median. Median is the central value of an ordered distribution. So to find it, you have to order the data from smallest to largest. If there's an odd number of values, the median is the middle number. If there's an even number of values, you're going to add the 2 middle numbers and divide by 2. So for example 2, what do barbecue flavored potato chips cost? We've got 6 numbers there for the top rated chips and their price per ounce in cents. We want to find the median. In order to find the median, you have to put them in order from smallest to biggest. So it's going to go then 18, 19, 19, 27, 28, 35. So if we count in, 19 and 27 are going to be our 2 middle numbers. So we have to add those 2 together and divide by 2 to get our median. So we're going to take 19 plus 27 and then divide by 2. Now on your calculator, actually do 19 plus 27, hit enter, then hit divide by 2. So we should have then 23 cents for our answer. Then it says the brand with the lowest overall taste rating costs 35 cents. Eliminate that brand and find the median price per ounce for the remaining barbecue flavored chips. So we're going to get rid of our 35. So don't count 35 anymore. So if I don't count 35, that means my middle number has to be the second 19. So that means we're going to have 19 cents. Okay, so for this one, you know what to do. You're going to pause the video, go through this example, and then see my answer from what you did. So hit play once you are done. So you should have answers down for A, B, C, and D. So for A, it says organize the data from smallest to largest. So you're going to actually find all the smallest numbers there. Hopefully I have enough room to write all these out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12s. And we have 3 13s. I've got 3 14s. I've got 4 15s. I've got 16, 16, 16, 4 17s, 2 18s, 19, 20, and 20. Now they want to know what is the median credit hour load. So we had 30 numbers here. Well, you should know that half of 30 is 15. So you want to go 15 from the left and 15 from the right and see where you end up. Well, my 2 15s here are both 15 from the left, 15 from the right. So that means my median is going to be 15 plus 15 divided by 2. Hopefully you realize it's the same number, so if I divide by 2, I'm going to get the same number again. Then they want the mode. Remember, mode appears the most, and 12 up there is the one that happens the most of all of our numbers. Now for part D, it says, if the budget committee is going to fund the college according to the average student credit hour load, more money for higher loads, which of these two averages do you think the college will report? Well, if they want to get more money, they want to show that they have more students taking higher loads. So they're going to use that median for them. So again, the median number there is higher. The higher the load amounts, the more money the college is going to get. Next we have mean. Mean is the average, and it uses exact values of each entry. So what you do is add up all the numbers and divide by the number of numbers. Now you might see this little notation here. That's a sigma x. That means the sum. So if you see that listed anywhere, it's just saying the sum of all your values. For example 3, to graduate, Linda needs at least a B in biology. She did not do very well on her first 3 tests. However, she did well on the last 4. Here are her scores. Compute the mean and determine if Linda's grade will be a B or a C. So what we have to do is add up all those numbers together. So we're going to have 58 plus 67 plus 60 plus 84 plus 93 plus 98 plus 100. Now there are 7 numbers there, so we're going to add those up and divide by 7. So I've got a 560 divided by 7, which gives me 80. So since she has an 80%, that's going to be a B for her grade. Now it's very important for you to understand the different notations, because you will see these notations for the rest of the course. So we have our sample mean and our population mean. The sample mean is written with the X bar. The population mean is mu. Looks like a little U there. So again, X bar is going to be your sample mean. The mu is going to be your population mean. Now, those are 2 formulas here, but it's just saying add up all your number and divide by the number of data values that you have. A resistant measure is one that is not influenced by extremely high or low data values. The mean is not resistant. If you have really big numbers, it's going to affect your mean. Whereas the median is more resistant, because the median is always just the middle. Doesn't matter how big your numbers get on the outside, it's always going to be the middle number inside. Now our trimmed mean gets rid of the smallest and largest data values. You'll usually see a 5% trim mean. And this is going to be more resistant than the mean because you're getting rid of the really big and really small numbers. So if I want to find that 5% trim mean, we have to order the values from smallest to largest, and then we're going to get rid of the bottom 5 and the top 5. Now this is 5%, so not bottom 5 numbers, top 5 numbers. It's the bottom 5%, top 5%. So you've got to figure out what 5% is of your whole sample. You're not taking 5% of the smallest number, you're taking 5% of the numbers in your sample. So if you have 50 numbers, you're taking 5% of 50. If you have 100 numbers, you're taking 5% of 100. So if I look at this You Try Too, I'm just going to walk you through some of these. We have 20 colleges and universities in California shown class sizes for introductory courses to be all those different numbers. But we have 20 of them. Since there are 20 of them, when we find the 5% trim mean, we're taking 5% of 20. So if we jump to B then, we would take 0.05 times 20 because you want 5% of 20. Now, I want you to go through right now and complete A and C on your own. So pause the video. You should know how to find the mean of the whole sample. You should know how to find the median. So A and C are ones you should know how to do. So hit pause and then come back to me. So you should have your A completed. So you have to add up all the numbers together and divide by 20 because there are 20 numbers. So you should have 719 divided by 20, and we get 36 for our mean. Your median then, those are the two middle numbers. So if you look at your two middle numbers, it's going to be 30 here and 35. So if I have 30 and 35, I have to take 30 plus 35, 35, and divide by 2. When I add those two together and divide, you get 32.5. Okay, now the 5% trimmed mean. We already said we have to take 5% of 20 because there's 20 values there. So if we do 0.05 times 20, we end up with 1. So that means what you're going to do is cross off the first number and the last number. Now, if our answer would have been 2, you'd cross off the first two numbers and the last two numbers. But because it's 1, you're just getting rid of the first number and the last number. So we're going to get rid of 14 and we're going to get rid of 80. So now we have to find the mean without 80 and 14. Now don't go through and add 20 through 80 again. Take your 719, subtract 14, subtract 80. Because that means that's your sum without the first number and the last number. So that would be 625. And now you're dividing that by 18 because we crossed off the first and last number. So when I divide both of those, I get 34.7. Now they want the median of the 5% trim mean. So if we look at our median, it's still going to be the 30 plus 35 all over 2. Because it has not changed. If you count in starting with 20 and 80, you're still going to have 30 and 35 as your two middle numbers. So I add those two together and divide by 2, and I get 32.5. So the median did not change. Now they want to know, is the trim mean or the original mean close to the median? The closer value is going to be then the trimmed mean. Because you're getting rid of some of the highest and lowest data values. Okay, now on your next page, I know I'm not there on my next page, but if you go to your next page, you see I give you some calculator steps on how the calculator can find your mean and your median. It does it for you. So we're going to practice this together. So what we're going to do is type in our numbers. So we have 20 numbers there, and we're going to type in those 20 numbers here. So to do it, we are going to hit the stat button. So the stat button, again, look at your picture up here on the screen. Look at your calculator. My stat button is red. Look to see how your stat button matches up with mine. Then we want edit, so we want number 1. So you hit your stat button, and then you're going to go number 1, so you're going to hit enter for number 1. Now I have no numbers listed in my L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth. If you have numbers listed in your L1, you're going to use the up arrow. So you're going to go use the up arrow. Again, follow my screen. In red will be what I just typed. And then you're going to hit clear. So you go up, hit clear, and when you move back down, there should be no numbers there at all. Now we're going to type those numbers into our calculator. So I've got 14. I've got to go slow on mine. 20. 20. 20. 20. I've got 23, 25, 30, 30, 30, 35, 35, 35, 40, 40, 42, 50, 50, 80, 80. Again, if I typed everything in right and you typed in everything right, we have our list of numbers right there. So now what we're going to do next is tell the calculator we want to find all the statistics on these numbers. So we're going to hit our stat button again. So again, click the stat button. You're going to move to the right over to calc. So use your right button. We're going to go over to calc. Now you want number 1, the 1 var stats. So we're going to hit enter. Now, depending on what calculator you are using, you have to make sure you check. Here it says list L1. That has to say L1 because you're saying, I want to find the stats from that first column. If it doesn't say L1, you're going to have to make it say L1. So what you do is hit the second button, and then you type number 1. And then L1 should pop up if it is not currently there. Now, we don't need to worry about the frequency list, so you can move down and move down to calculate. So calculate should be dark, so you're going to hit enter. Now, on my list here is everything listed out that we don't really know yet, we haven't used yet. But what you do need to know is your mean and your median from this list. That first number given there. That first number, it says X bar equals 35.95. That is your mean. So if you look at your mean, we had 36 as I rounded it up. Here they have 35.95 for your X bar. So make a note somewhere that X bar is the same thing as the mean of that data set. Then you're going to have to go down and use your arrow key. You're going to go down. If you go down 1, you see median. It says MED 32.5. That is your median of your data, which is what we found. So this list will give us other things, too, that we're going to learn in 3.2 and 3.3. But the main thing right now is it gives you your mean and it gives you your median. The last stuff that we have is our weighted average. Okay, weighted average finds the average of a set of numbers where some of the numbers are weighted more than the others. So what we're going to do is multiply the weights times the scores. On the bottom, then, we add up all of the weights together. So here, we are going to look at, we have a midterm score of 83 and a final exam score of 95. The weight of 40% goes with your midterm. So that means I have to change my 40% into decimal first. So if it's 40%, you have to move the decimal 2 places to the left. So 40% would be 0.4 as a decimal. We're going to take 0.4 times 83 because it says 40% matches up with midterm. We're going to add to that 0.6 because it says 60% for the final exam. So 0.6 times your final exam score. Now you divide that by the sum of the weights. So you don't add 83 and 95, you add 0.4 and 0.6. So we do 0.4 plus 0.6. So on your calculator, you can just type it in, 0.4 times 83 plus 0.6 times 95. And you get a 90.2 on top. If you add 0.4 and 0.6, you get a 1 on the bottom. Now, the bottom is not always going to be 1. It just depends on what your weights are. So you really do have to be sure you add your weights together on the bottom. So that means we would have 90.2%, and that would be an A.